In this secret episode, we bring you the voice of a wisdom keeper, a bridge between ancient truths and future possibilities. Auntie Ivy Smith.
This sacred story is a global message for humanity, and it comes with a responsibility, dedication, and accountability to how you conduct yourself. So when I got this done, I knew it was a big job, a walk with the message, which comes back to working from unconditional love to bringing action.
Auntie Ivy has traveled across more than 30 countries, self-funded and led by spirit to carry the heartbeat of the indigenous peoples in the world. She walks in the memory of her ancestors, with a face marked by sacred stories and a heart ignited by justice.
We've always had the solutions. Our wealth is looking after each other. Our wealth is sharing.
In this conversation, Auntie Ivy shares the vision of a global treaty, one not owned by governments, but held in reverence to Mother Earth. She speaks of ancestral technology, ancient medicine, and the rise of the youth, right to lead with heart and harmony.
We have the solutions, and we want to share, train, upskill people that want to be a part of this movement. And we are ready now to start today to save tomorrow.
Let this be more than a conversation. Let this be a movement, a ripple, a call to remember who you are and what we are here to protect.
Please come and sit with us so we can share our truth, our wisdom, our knowledge.
Join us, listen deeply, and if your heart is moved, act. This is the time now. We're calling you home. This is Women as Agents of Change. Here is Auntie Ivy Smith. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Women as Agents of Change podcast series. I am your host, Liza Florida, and today's podcast is brought to you by 8 Billion Podcast in partnership with the International Peace Bureau. Now, many of you guys are tuning into this podcast series, and this one, I have a very special guest. She is actually one of my dear friends. We've had a chance to meet several years ago, and her and I have been talking about something that's near and dear to us passionately, which is about the indigenous communities. So I'm deeply honored to present to you guys Auntie Ivy Smith. So welcome to the Women as Agents of Change podcast series. How are you doing, Auntie?
Good, thank you. It's great to be on here and to be able to share, many voices of others.
Awesome. Now, Auntie, I've had a chance to know you for many years. And for obvious reasons, there's been an introduction of who you are. But could you tell us a little bit more about your background and what led you to the work of Indigenous advocacy and peace building?
I think it's a combination of passed down knowledge from my grandparents. Also, at a young age, I realized through our lineage, I had gifts where I could feel and see. And also from my journey of experiencing what our Indigenous people, more so in Polynesia, Aotearoa, Australia, Oceania, have experienced, made me realize that I want to be there to bring a voice of change. Also, at a very young age, being a victim of abuse, I saw the pain and suffering of the people that actually brought harm to me. And I knew through my gifts and healings that I could heal those people. So changing from a victim to a healer. And as I mentioned, my journey in observing what our Polynesian people went through in Pacifica, I just knew that I could bring change.
Awesome. Did you want to share? I know that many people are always curious about what's tattooed on your face. Would you like to share with the audience a little bit more about that? Yeah.
So this sacred story is a global message for humanity, and it comes with a responsibility, dedication, and accountability to how you conduct yourself. So when I got this done, I knew it was a big job, a walk with the message, which comes back to working from unconditional love to bringing action to look after what gives us life. So these are all the elements from outside our planet, starting with everything that we need from outside our planet down to the elements to nature, to also look after the animals that give us life. So it's a whole ecosystem of elements, nature, the animals. Also on my ears, it's around balancing yourself, keeping yourself in line, in alignment with who you are, your purpose here, your truth. But we can only do that when we find other like-minded people to help us on that journey. It's not a alone journey. Also, behind my ears are the elders. So it's around also acknowledging the passed down wisdom and knowledge from our elders, people that have been chosen, carrying the knowledge. And when we put that together, it brings us more peace within ourselves. Then we can action in a whole different frequency to bring harmony to our planet.
It's beautiful, Auntie. I know many people are very curious about that. You're beautiful women, both inside and out. And one of the first things that they notice, of course, is the tattoo markings on your face. So thank you so much for sharing this with the audience. I've had a chance, like I said, to know Auntie for many years. So we have such deep, profound conversations about the way we see the planet, the connection of the indigenous communities, and how all of this needs to be shared with many of you guys. I think there's an interest right now to really deeply connect with the land and the people. And so like I said, it's an honor to finally be able to do a podcast with you. But Auntie, you've traveled to over 30 countries with your work. How has this shaped your perspective, especially coming from the Pacific Island regions?
I took a self-funded walk for about over a decade now. It wasn't easy having to leave my family and grandchildren, but the calling was to go out and find truth, find what's working, what's not out there in the world, and build relationships with the right allies for this time we're in now. And what I saw globally is similarities in some of the places in the world, like our indigenous back home, where we're still silenced, we're not seen or heard. And yet the positive of that is we're in a time now of change where the right people can stand now. They can be seen, they can be heard, because we hold the old way that works, the handed down wisdom. We are connected to this planet on a higher level, not just here, outside this, which is what we call that universal law, land's original rights of how we are meant to enjoy this homeland, care and share for one another.
Thank you, Auntie. I really believe in all of that, the universal law, and really believe in the alignment. Because even though it's interesting how Auntie and I met, eventually, even our walk outside of us personally meaning has brought us here. So it's Auntie's work with so many different organizations, and then us having finally met at a crossing where we can intersect and really bring forth her vision and her message, which she's been wanting to share, and she has for many years. But moving into, let's walk if I can briefly go into the historical context. How has colonialism and systemic suppression, how has colonialism and systemic suppression historically impacted the indigenous communities across the Pacific? And how do you see these effects still playing out today?
Well, I mean, we've got enough information out there around, our ways were stolen many years ago. But through the action, we were able to still keep our traditions, keep our wisdom. How? Because our spirit is still with us, because we are connected to the lands. And that's the message that humanity need to understand, is the disconnection through behaviours from the past was behaviours of greed, control, death, racism. And that came from a small group of people that have continued right to this day to present those behaviours. However, even though our indigenous people worldwide have struggled, what has kept us still here is the old ways that got handed down, and we're still living those old ways. We're still not giving up. Our spirits haven't been lost in some sense because of our faith, our connection to what gives us life. And that is what I know when I went on my walk, what needs to be shared and handed down to other people so they can understand why our indigenous act and behave the way they do. How do we do that? Is around like-minded people helping us to get that voice out there, to share our knowledge and wisdom and support the projects that have solutions, and they still work because we're still living that old way, which we need to go back to today to save our tomorrow.
Yes, I agree, Auntie. I think everyone can feel it. They can sense it with as much as there is a lot of the global events that have taken place and are still ongoing. I think that even people across the world are really starting to notice that we've got to go back to the simple ways where we really respect everything. And it starts with respecting each other as human beings, and most especially Mother Earth, because I know you're such a big proponent of the healing of Mother Earth. Now, with that, Auntie, why is it crucial for the indigenous traditions and voices and governance models to have a central place at today's decision-making tables?
As I said, for many years till now, we've been silenced. Why we need a seat at some of these roundtable gatherings is we've always had the solutions, and they're very simple. And because a lot of the solutions are not profit-based is why we're not seen, we're not able to talk, because we run within our structure, our system, our lives with a different wealth. The old way of wealth, of power, control, silencing people is not our way. Our wealth is taking care of what gives us life. Our wealth is looking after each other. Our wealth is sharing. Our wealth is gratitude of abundance of what we have. And so, why people don't want us to come and sit at the table is when we actually open those doors for people to come and sit with us, to feel the simplicity, to show people that we've been hijacked around materialism. On social media, we are getting distorted by fear and control. And when we come and sit amongst these modern platforms, we bring common sense. People can feel us. People can see truth. People can hear truth. And when we present our old ways of working, we can share that knowledge. We know how to clean the waters. We know how to look after our lands. We know to fix the problems of today.
Yeah.
And why we need to sit there is it doesn't take much time and energy or money to start the cleanup.
Yes. And Auntie, you've been talking about this. You've not only traveled like 30 countries, you've been doing this for many years. You're self-funded. You go and represent many indigenous cultures globally. So not even just the Pacific where you're from and Oceania, but even everything from the native tribes all across the globe. So there really is a need for a lot of representation at the table. I know you've mentioned to me that you've traveled, and often many times other leaders have traveled to only be like their voices haven't been heard, and they go back sadly to their communities with everyone having hopes that something is going to change, and nothing has really changed.
Excuse me. And that's one thing which is a positive thing now is, when we have a look at that word indigenous, it's a global indigenous movement now. And there are a lot of indigenous other cultures that also were not seen and heard. And now we're standing together. And this is, not just bringing hope, it's bringing action. And we're all coming together talking about what worked and how we need to action that. So, the relationships are building worldwide now in the indigenous movement.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And with that, it's a great way to segue, to the audience. You'll hear me always reference back to me and Auntie having many conversations for the last 3 years. And where I'm going to be going into next as part of this podcast is going to be talking about a vision that she's held long before even her and I met. But Auntie knows, Auntie Ivy knows through her walk who she's deeply aligned with, who she's been able to share this vision with. And I'm deeply honored to actually be able to now create this platform in order for her to share this vision. So, Auntie, you've been working on towards a treaty that aims to unite the indigenous communities and other groups working towards justice and equality. Could you take the time and share with us the vision behind this treaty?
Vision behind this treaty came quite some time ago when I was quite young and represented our country. I think when I was around 25 in a political forum. And I could see that what was being said there, what was being gathered was not correct. I could see the loopholes. And as I said, on my journey, also going through university, on my walk, going to places that some people can't go to, speaking with people that some people don't trust, I knew that there had to be a different treaty. Many treaties today, as we know, bring great work, but there is still a sense of ownership, guidelines, rules, people that are in charge that don't understand the energy and soul and spirit of a treaty. The Treaty of Waitangi back in Aotearoa is the one treaty that gets recognised for all Indigenous and yet that's still governed by the Crown. And when we look back on where that came from, it still had that old energy attached to it. So the vision that I held was, what has to be different within a treaty framework? And the only answer I could give at that time, and it still applies now, is no one has ownership of it. The ownership belongs to Mother Earth, this planet, and everything that gives us life. We, humanity that work from heart, that are people of change, just need to educate and bring awareness of what we need to do under that treaty structure, which belongs to everything else except us. That's what's different, is the ownership's gone, the control's gone, the voice is the planet. What we need to see is what's outside, all around us, that gives us life, nature, the elements, the animals. And we keep hearing that, especially in today's world, but a lot of people don't really understand that full story, which is why we have to come together, sit together. That is why we have to have our platforms. That's why we want to hand down our knowledge, because if it doesn't come within, no one's going to action it right, and we're going to repeat that cycle. And that's why Indigenous has to be in the forefront, because we have never lost that. Even though we struggle to survive, we still have the old ways. In a new treaty, and this time will be governed by the younger generation. Why? Because they hold the same vision, the same intent, the same action, the same energy. They don't hold the heavy burden that we held in our age, that our parents, our grandparents going backwards held. That's why it's not hope. We are in a revolutionary change, because the younger generation have an equal vibration throughout the world. They see what's happening. They're not in fear. The only thing that needs to happen again is they need to be held. They need a place to belong. And that is my work, where I have worked really hard to build a relationship with over about 200 frontline ambassadors worldwide, from environmental lawyers to policymakers, who will uphold this treaty because they had the skill base, they have the right heart, and they are ready to stand strong.
I love that, Auntie. We've always talked about everything was always in timing, in divine timing. And like I said, for the many years that I've known Auntie, that's always been a vision she's held in her heart. And for some reason, I was like, when I contacted Auntie, I told her, I think it's time to share this vision on the podcast and for it to be known, because not only have you partnered with over 200 ambassadors or people around the globe that would hold up the agreement, I think it's really time to take this into action and not literally, like, physically manifest it into being. And so towards the end, I'll actually ask, or we'll put a call out to what you're looking for, if other people are interested in learning more about the treaty and how they can join, get more specific details. But another area that you are deeply passionate about is youth leadership and next generation. So you mentioned the rise of Indigenous youth leadership in Aotearoa and beyond. How do you see the younger generation shifting the paradigm of governance and advocacy?
I mean, as you see on social media, as much as they want to show us, the younger generation is standing strong. They've gone through the Western education, but now the more that they can unify together, and that is the importance, again, of bringing indigenous into the world platforms, is they're bridging the Western, the old way, the new, the modern. And that's why we are in a whole different vibration, because they all are bringing their skill base. But when we bring it back to the anchoring, the root of what's needed with the younger generation is why, for example, in Aotearoa, you saw the young MP, Hana, who stood strong against the government wanting to take away our indigenous rights. And she spoke her truth. She ripped up that submission, and the haka started. That haka wasn't in an aggressive way. The haka was there to send a message out that we aren't standing in fear. We're not going to be silenced. We are not going to be getting anything stolen again from us. And so that young person started that movement worldwide. Many young people are standing in new leadership. Hence why the younger generation is who I'm concentrating on, because they are our future. However, they still need that guidance. They still need the elders to wrap around them, give them praise. And also, they need to, our responsibility is to make sure they don't burn out, to make sure they're looked after. And that's why I, as many people know, answer my phone, sometimes speaking to 5 to 10 different people a day in different countries, because I keep that line open. I keep those relationships safe. I'm that trusted person that many of them look out for, that one person can make a difference.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Are there any other ways, Auntie, that we can guide and support the young leaders to carry forward this ancestral wisdom while creating these new pathways?
Look, I've been to hundreds of summits, conferences. I've gone and represented our people at the UN, etc. And what happens with the structure is some people get funded, some people have no means of getting to these platforms, but it continues to repeat the pattern where people come and people go and nothing gets done. People come and share their hearts and they leave with broken promises. There's so much talk. There's little action of sharing resources. What we keep talking about today is everyone's focusing on the governments, which is a whole nother story in itself. But when we have a look at, on a micro, macro level, the call out is whoever has resources to share. When we unify and unite in numbers, change can happen faster. The young people are ready, but we have to create our new platforms. We have to create our new media platforms. We have got to talk together and prioritize on how to save land. We've got to create, which is on top of my list too, healing sanctuaries. If we don't heal the past, we're going to continue to take this energy forward. A lot of people just need a time and place to heal so they can reboot the energy. They can have the energy to action what needs to happen. We have a lot of work to do, and the big work hasn't started in changing and redesigning all the infrastructures, the justice system, the education system, the financial systems. And these young people are all ready to take action, to stand, but because it's going to be outside the box, we need people to help with resources, donations, and without other good-hearted people, that change is going to take longer, and we needed to do that yesterday, today, for tomorrow.
No, thank you so much, Auntie. I know that's usually, it's never easy to actually have walked as long as you have, to attend so many different summits, to speak and really kind of move through everything that you've seen, watch other people get massive funding, and see that there's like this, there's a lack of funding where it's really needed. And that's what's actually getting presented on the platform, is a lot of these women here are really, whether they're nonprofit organizations or grassroots efforts, most especially in the indigenous community space. Auntie would know, most especially with her walk, as long as she has, we've said this many times, she's been self-funded because she goes into these areas and into the remote places, and she has connections with them. And every time, many of these leaders are also reaching out to Auntie. It is going to take out of the box thinking. It's going to take a lot of people, not only the women, to really stand in their true power, to really call out for some action. But we're here, and it's just an opportunity for many of you guys in the audience. If, like I said, if there's any way that you're interested in any of this that Auntie presents, let me start going down this part where we do this call for action, Auntie, because you've emphasized the importance of solutions rather than conversations. What are the key solutions you propose for building lasting peace and justice for the Indigenous people?
Look, the solutions are allowing us to do our work. All we're asking is for minimal support so we can survive, first and foremost. Also, we have our ancestral technology. A lot of people today are spending millions and billions on creating all this new technology, which is wasting time and money. We have the answers. We just need sometimes minimal financial support to share this ancient technology. The more we can share the answers to the problems, we're going to be able to fast track this cleanup. We will be able to allow humanity to work from heart, not from here, to be in connection with their whole self, which will change the whole behavior, which our younger generation needs to see. They will mimic what's happening now. And this is the most important time and place where we're losing our younger generation to technology. The adults are tired and are struggling just to survive. It's not that they choose to allow their children to sit in front of boxes. It's because of what's happening out there, where we're still getting distracted by the media. They're putting us into fear again. And, if there was a few things to put out to people that they already are hearing, you need to action and get off the media. Stop listening to what's happening out there. It's just creating fear, and take time for yourself. your families get outside in nature and that's the one thing that all I can say is I have people ready. We have the answers. We have the ancient technology that will reboot what gives us life straight away. And why it's not happening faster out there is we can't even leave our country sometimes to talk. And that's why we need to create these sacred gatherings to come together. We need good-hearted people that want to leave legacies, want to invest. Please come and sit with us so we can share our truth, our wisdom, our knowledge, and where your investment not only helps your family, it's going to create the new changes that this planet needs. And we can look back and say, wow, we did this with your help. That is what is probably the most important message is we, when I say we, the people that have the solutions, we need to get out our messages fast. And that is the support we're needing. So good people are not investing in profitable projects that are just actually creating more mess and harm out there. We want good-hearted people's hard work, hard investments to leave legacies for their families, their children, our grandchildren, and the future that's not here yet.
Absolutely. Auntie, I share that same sentiment with you. I, for myself, come from a business background. And I probably mentioned this on the podcast before when I was presented this opportunity by the International Peace Bureau. I even said when I was praying, I was asking our Creator, do I have the capacity to really go into this space and deliver the messages of these women? And at the very core of it, like what you see in this podcast series, it's many women who are just coming forward. I know that there's a need from the global international community for funding, but there's also this need for many people to just step up, whether they can either share in their gifts, in their services, in different spaces. Now, Auntie, I know that this is something, that if you're able to share, I'd like for you to provide us, maybe some examples of what's out there so you guys can see as the audience the far reaches of the communities that Auntie, receives requests from. So if they're we'll cover the treaty after this and the time frame and the work that's involved with that, Auntie, but why don't we give the audience a look into some of the projects that are, or some of the needs of the indigenous communities that are brought forth to you? Because many people don't know, this is sometimes the same things that are asked of, but until they really take a deeper dive into what's really happening in some of these indigenous communities, I think it would be great for you to share if you're open to doing it.
Firstly, one of the projects that I've been wanting to call out for is for funding to be able to take a film crew to film the last sacred wisdom holders with the solutions of what we need. If we don't record them, we're going to lose them. And a lot of these places don't allow people, they don't trust people to come in to these places. And I've built that relationship. They're waiting for me to come back to record. So that is one thing. We have to record the ancient wisdom and knowledge so we can hand it down to the next generations. Some of the projects, for example, here across in Aotearoa, Polynesia, Australia, we have our sacred medicines that can fix all issues. Yet we're still silent. We don't have the money to create the businesses to share the medicines in a production line that can help the whole world. And why we keep getting silences, again, the big companies want to make profit. We don't want to make profit. We want to heal people.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the answers to save humanity from more health problems. Then we've got our solutions of our old ways to clean the waterways. We have solutions that create free energy. We know how to clean our soil, our foods, but when companies keep coming and poisoning the lands, poisoning the waters, we're getting nowhere. What we need help with is for people to help us buy our lands back. So then we can start working together and forming relationships and allies to protect us. Because if people, I hear many people say in different countries, oh, well, why should we help? We're not getting affected. The times are coming very soon when poisoned waters are going to reach your households. The food systems and structures are going to be getting more poison in them that it's going to start reaching your homes more. All we're asking is we need help so we can protect the waters in our homelands that can generate and flow clean water to your homes. We can start growing our harvest of the foods that we need to help heal our bodies. And all we're asking is to give us the resources so we can again flow those medicines, help our indigenous healers like myself. We are the true healers that can help heal humanity, but we need places to set up so we can train and share our knowledge. So in one flow, we're healing humanity, we're healing the waters, we're healing our lands, we're healing our foods. And we don't ask for much, but what we're needing is the donations to set these up. What we're asking is help us save our lands so we can continue to share our knowledge, allow us to get into the media with positive solutions, our voices. All we've been wanting to do is to share this, but we don't have the means to be able to do that. We have solutions to, the justice systems. We have a different wealth set up. We have the education system that worked before that builds our children into leaders, into guardians of this planet. Our way is opposite to the Western way. It's always worked, but we need support to bring that old way back into the modern day today.
Thank you, Auntie. I know that typically I help guide all the women through what we're going to cover. And I asked this one, I know I just threw out there, Auntie, only because I've known you for so many years. You've shared the needs of the community. And honestly, going back to right before I asked you that question, I myself come from a business background, but a lot of my mission work is extended into media, doing documentary series, and then of course this platform. And this was my way of contributing to the women, was holding up this platform for your voices. Now, from here, in addition, and I'll just give you examples, is because my background comes from real estate, I know that there's so much from the spaces that I come from that could be of greater impact into the indigenous communities. And I'm working on that behind the scenes to actually be of service, whether it's mentoring some of the other women and the children are future real estate leaders. Or if it's to really figure out, like what you're saying, new solutions of how to get the land, keep the land, create sovereign wealth for these communities so they can go on to extend their medicine and their practices to the rest of the planet, because it is deeply healing. It's how I found my healing journey, and how you found someone like myself who comes from a business background here sharing the work with others. So I know that was a little bit longer, but this was just to share with the audience some of the things where you can be of contribution. Because sometimes I know that these projects seem so big, these calls to action seem so big, it seems like quite an undertaking. But if you really feel called to this work, there's so much impact you can give, even from a standpoint of reaching out and maybe even connecting people. So, Auntie, one of the things, like I said, that I know has really meant so much to you is the treaty. And as we close out this podcast, could you share some of the time frames and the next critical steps for the realization of the treaty and the movement that you're building?
Well, the time frame is now. I worked so hard to find the right chosen people. And like I said, I've got the people ready. What's needed is some funding to be able to allow, these people to come together so we can formulate the structure. So it's just a matter on good-hearted people helping so we can start this process, get it bulletproof to present to humanity. And I have the right people waiting. Like you use the word sovereignty, I've got elders, the guardians, the younger generation that all have their skill bases, and all I'm needing is support to create one gathering so the right people can get called to sit with us, hear what we want to create to bring a movement of peace back to humanity, which will create a harmonic frequency back to this planet that will then start the cleanup to our waters, our lands, our animals, our planet on a whole level, not just within our planet, outside our planet. And I'm the person and bridge and voice to ask for that call out of support. One, to record what we need to record. Two, to hold a summit to gather the people to be able to share what we need to do next. And we're ready to receive support to take action.
Thank you, Auntie, for sharing that. I will actually leave for anyone who is interested, please, and is tuning in, please check the description box for Auntie's contact information, because we really are. I mean, you know that you have me as someone that is deeply committed and passionate about this treaty, Auntie. And anyone, like I said, in the audience that deeply feels pulled to be of service or be of contribution in this treaty, please feel free to reach out to myself, and I can connect you to Auntie or directly to Auntie. She's really great at gathering others to and really making this happen. Now, Auntie, all of these podcasts run so fast, and I know that there's so much to cover, but it's one of the things that I wanted to at least share, or have you share, excuse me, as you close out. You often speak about the healing and sharing the load as a way to move forward. What message would you like to leave for the listeners around the world about collective healing and unity?
we're in a movement where we have to heal to not carry those past pains into today's movement, so we can role model different behaviours to our children, the younger generation. It is crucial. But the only way we can do that is through true healing, to support the people like myself and many others that have the wisdom, have the knowledge. We are here and we need help so we can heal in greater numbers. Please reach out to me to hear how you can help other healers to open centres globally. We are in a movement today where the modern behaviours are taking over and more people are creating all this new modern healing, which is distracting the real healing. So what I ask is for people that need healing or people that want to help heal humanity, please reach out to myself, who I can reach out and get the other global healers support so we can fast track this cleanup. There is so much homelessness out there. There's so much addiction, people not getting the basic needs. And we're in 2025. We have the solutions and we want to share, train, upskill people that want to be a part of this movement. And we're ready now to start today to save tomorrow.
Beautiful, Auntie. For that message is deeply profound because the world is calling out for it. You can hear the planet. And many people are definitely going through a massive awakening. And the only way to move through that is really the healing of our bodies, our spirit, to create this unity, this profound unity. So thank you, Auntie, for sharing that. Would you like to share any final messages?
Something that just came up when we were talking was, I've heard of 10 projects recently that cost millions of dollars, that good people are buying land and creating these new age healing centres. And all I ask is, please reach out to myself if you're already set up these projects. Please open the door to some of us indigenous that can come in to help your projects or help us to create our sanctuaries so we can open the doors and train and heal in a faster, productive way. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie, for that. Can you take us through a closing prayer for this podcast series?
All right. You can choose to close your eyes. I just ask for us to take a breath and acknowledge breath of life. So let's take a breath in and calmly breathe out the energy that we don't need within us to be able to open up and give room for new energy to come within us. Dear Creator, firstly, we thank you for the technology. We thank Mother Earth for always having a part of her body within the crystals in each part of what we are using today to communicate with. We thank good-hearted people that are listening, that are getting called in to take time to listen to our words from heart, our calls to action. Thank you for the relationships built between Liza, myself, and all the other frontline people that are not giving up, that are chosen and working so many hours away from their families to be a part of this big change that's coming. We just give gratitude also to the energies that block us, the energies that are lost, the energies that are working against us. We send so much light and love to bring change within that space that is needing love to. The people that are making decisions that aren't working for us, we send healing to their hearts. I am very grateful to be on this platform, and if one person resonates, that reaches out, one person can make a difference, that can start a ripple within the intelligent water to bring cleansing of that medicine that humanity is needing so much now to heal, to bring peace back to us, to bring harmony back to our planet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh.
And so it is. Auntie, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being on the Women as Agents of Change podcast series. And thank you to all that has tuned in, most especially for the audience that has come in through the International Peace Bureau. It has been such an honor to partner with an incredible organization to bring these women forward. So again, thank you, Auntie. And we look forward, and I look forward to what we can build and the impact we can make in this world.